first off, let's look at what it's going to take to get this speaker off. Obviously, it's going to have to be unbolted, and that's going to be a trick getting to everything there. Looks like it's screwed on right here. Okay, so I can get that off of there, but maybe that's the only place. Yeah, it's the only place it's actually mechanically connected. And then we have wires connected here. So I don't really know where those wires go. I mean, I know where they go according to schematic, but I'm not sure where they go physically in the radio. So I am going to have to perhaps remove this guy right here just to see. See, the trouble is everything's buried under these guys. Let's see where those speakers wires go here. Well, Buster's complaining because Wifey chased him downstairs so he'd quit bothering her. So he's going to come down here and tell me about all the awful things she said. I am now going to try and disconnect these speaker wires from the output tube. One side of the output transformer connects up to pin 2 of the number 43 tube. The other side of the output transformer connects up to pin 3 of that same tube. So let me see if I can't sort this out. Now the number 42 sits right down here underneath this can dome, okay? Okay, so what we have to do is find those silly wires. The schematic says one of those wires is red and the other one is green, so that should make it simpler. And the green one, it looks like, connects up to pin 2, and the red one connects up to pin 3. All right, let me take a look up top, see which way the key is pointing, because it's too hard to look at the pins and tell. Where the two big pins are, that's considered the key for this tube, those two big pins. That's so you can only put the tube in one way. And that key is right between those two pins, and that rivet just happens to line up with that, so that'll help me spot that. I'm really nervous about handling this thing with that speaker there, because I have put my hand through speakers many times. The rivet is over here, so there's pin 1 and there's pin 2. You can't really see it, and I don't expect that you'll be able to, and it's just too tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get those disconnected as quick as I can, and then move on from there. Pin 1, pin 2, and pin 3. All right, so wow. 1, 2. This is tough, guys. This really is tough. You wouldn't think this old chassis would be this tight, you know, 5-tube chassis, but it really is. All right, there it is. And what I'm going to do, rather than try to melt that solder right now, I'm just going to cut that wire. There's enough wire there, and I might wind up replacing it anyway. So I'm just going to cut that loose. I need to get this speaker off of here before I do something awful to it. You know, it's one thing to be a klutz. It's another thing to be a klutz and not be aware of it, okay? Alright, that's definitely one of them. And besides, pin 2 on this tube, there was nothing else connected to it. So pin 3, that may not be the case. Alright, so let's look at pin 3 here, and sure enough there's 2 or 3 wires connected to it. One going to the can dome, one going off to what looks like an IF transformer. What else is connected there? And there's a red wire buried way down here. Again, you can't see it, but I can. And I'll cut that little bugger, and if I cut it too short, I'll make a new wire. There we go. Now I'm committed, guys. I am committed. Oh shit. Beep. It's actually connected to a resistor terminal, so I've got to label this wire now. Well, you didn't hear what I just said because I'll have edited it out. But I just cut a wire that I didn't want to cut, and I've got to label it now so I don't lose track of it. And I uttered a colorful word of exclamation. You just take your guess at whatever the first word that might have come out of my mouth after O was, and use your imagination. I bet you can come up with it. I can't get my hands on these wires here. Remember Kung Fu, what he always said, patience, grasshopper. Patience. Let me see if that wire is actually yellow and not red. It sure is red. I really only have one choice, and that is to just keep pulling on this wire until I see what pulls. And you know, that wire could go anywhere where B plus is, because it connects to B plus. So I really should be looking elsewhere in the radio too. Well, there's a red wire, and it goes to this IF transformer. I'm wondering, boy, wouldn't that be sweet? I'll be damned. Here I am fighting down here and buried in this tube, and I got this red wire that I'm after sits right here on this IF transformer, right here. Okay. So I am going to start numbering these wires, because I can see I'm going to be having to be clipping some. I'm real tired, guys, so if I kind of mess my speech up a little, it's because I've been on the road most of the day. Wifey and I just got back from southern Utah, where one of my best friends was having his 50th wedding anniversary, and we needed to be there. And she hadn't felt real good, so it's been kind of a stressful trip for us. But I'm glad we're back, and I'm glad we went. It was beautiful down there. Southern Utah is one of those special places that the weather is absolutely gorgeous, very, very nice. And, you know, people that retire and maybe have a little money to buy a nice home and stuff, they move down there. It's kind of a cool place. So my buddy moved down there a few years ago, and I was sad to see him move away, but hell, if I had the money, I'd probably move there too. And it was nice to go down and see him. All right, that's number one. We're going to call that number one, and we're going to call this number two. I'm going to write on here, and I'll be able to erase it later with some lacquer thinner. All right, number two is going to be this red wire, and I'm probably going to have to splice that here because it's tight as it is, but if I remove the solder, that's going to be nasty anyway, so I might as well just clip it and be done. Now, all right, here's what I was after all along. Let's lay this baby down, and let's get this thing off of here. What do you think? Should we get this speaker off of here before one of us pokes a hole in it? You know, I say one of us because if I poke a hole in this, I'm going to blame you, just so you know. At least you know ahead of time. There's one screw. Okay, the speaker mounts down. You know what? I need a smaller screwdriver. So when we left there this morning, it was about 51 degrees, and we drove about 40 miles. We went up a big hill, and it dropped down to about 28 degrees, all in about a half hour. And those of you that live in the mountain areas, you know what I'm talking about. Are these? Please tell me those aren't nuts. And they are. What I have here on the back side of these speaker screws are some nuts. Right here there's one. See if you can see that. There's a nut right there. There's one down there and one over here. I need to get a 1/4-inch wrench on those guys and then turn the screws loose while I do that. Now putting them back in ought to be a real trip, eh? Always, always, always look after the speaker, guys. Whatever it takes. Get the speaker off the radio and out of the way as soon as possible if it's mounted to the chassis. If it's mounted in the cabinet and you got to take it out, I usually will take it out, look at it. If it looks good, I put it right back, unless we're refinishing the cabinet. But in any event, get it in a box, get it covered with cardboard, whatever you have to do to protect that cone, because you can repair them and they'll still sound good after you repair them. But it's a whole lot of work that you don't want to have to do. It's work that just puts you back to where it was before you put your meat hook through it, you see. It's not like you improve it by doing that work. All you're doing is putting it back. All right. Now it's loose, okay? Now I have to be real careful because I have to get these wires out of here without damaging that output transformer. So I'm going to grab the wires right here where they come out of the output transformer. Let's see, you can't see that. So I'll grab these wires one at a time, pull them out. I may replace them after all because they're pretty stiff. I thought I got the right one. Maybe I didn't. This is a hassle. See what the risk is. Now I got this thing loose, really causing problems. No, that's the right wire. I just need to pull it out. They don't like to bend. They're so stiff they don't like to bend. I think it might be wise when I put these back in to have replaced them. Ah, the field coil wires. Damn, I forgot about those. That's my problem. Okay, guys. I want to be careful with those too. Where do the field coil wires go? Let me take a look here. Alright, here's the field coil on the schematic. Okay, and so where does it connect? One side of it connects to pin 3 or the positive of this 4 microfarad, or either to pin 3 of the rectifier, the 25Z5, or to the positive of this this electrolytic capacitor. And this is yellow. Let me see if I can't find them. There is the black and the yellow wire of the field coil. Geez, I can't believe I forgot those. The last radio I worked on had a permanent magnet speaker. I didn't do a video of it because I just did a real quick job for the guy. Let me see if I can't find where those field coil wires go, and then we'll get that speaker out of here, okay? If I do a little bit of wiggle action on this field coil black wire, you watch me do a little bit of wiggle action, you can see one wire there. Okay, and that wire goes right there to that terminal. See that? Okay, so that's one. That's on that terminal strip. Alright, so let's see where the other one goes. Let's see if we can't move around and find it too. Okay, let us first go ahead and cut this wire here. Okay, got that one done. Now, let's find out where the heck this yellow one goes. There it is, but I can't see where the heck it's going. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip that wire. Alright, I'm going to snip that yellow wire right down here. Okay, let me show you it wiggling. See, that's that yellow wire wiggling. I'm going to snip it. I'm going to snip that wire now because it's getting to be a bad situation. And I don't want to cause it to break something. There we go. Alright guys, I got a speaker out of there without ruining it. Hopefully I can keep it that way. So let me put it in a box right away. Looks like for each of the speaker screws and little mounting points, there are 3 of them, okay? For each one there is a nut, a washer, and the screw. Now I'll have to get the screws. I think they stayed with the speaker when I plucked it out of there. Indeed they did. And you know what? That's a real good place for them to stay. I'm going to go ahead and put these back so that I have this. I don't have to put them in a baggie and worry about them. The speaker's in nice shape, so all I'm going to do is test the field coil. I'll probably splice a little bit of length of wire to each one of these where you can't see them, and be done. Also, So you see this little decal coming off. I'll put a little touch of glue on there before it breaks off of there. That way, you know, the decal stays complete. This is a nice little speaker. Utah speakers were good speakers. Of course, they were made in Chicago. I don't know why they were called Utah speakers. Let me put some glue on there now while I'm thinking about it, and then I'll set that guy aside. Alright, I don't want anything too nasty or strong, so I'm just going to put a little touch of this on there. If I have any left. I have to get some more glue, guys. Looks like I might not have any left. Any liquid left anyway. There we go. Just a tiny bit. Doesn't have to, we're not building a bridge with this stuff. We're just fixing a sticker that has decided to come loose. There we go. Nice. Okay. That'll dry and we'll be good to go. We have this thing out of the speaker out of the radio. Alright, now that's a lot easier on that side to work. Let's do a couple other things to make it easier to work. Number one, that needs to go away. That's just garbage. Okay, that's gone. We'll take care of all this dust and nastiness later. But what we want to do is we really want to protect these guys right here. Okay, so that knob comes off of there. And I'm not sure if these things are keyed or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark them. Okay, I'll just put a little line on the shaft that goes with where this screw is. Now, the chances are good that there will be a witness mark on there, and that screw will mark itself, but it can't hurt. Because once I pull it off, it's too late. So there we go. There we go. Okay. This guy here obviously is tuning because it goes from 55 up to 170. Now it's going to need some cleaning, but it'll look pretty good when I'm done. You don't want to polish this too much on here because what will happen is these numbers will start to fade and come off. You don't want that. So you have to be careful about using water on these guys because you never know whether that's water-based or not. So what you do is you find some spot like this number here and you take a Q-tip and get it wet and you just rub one little area of it gently and see if it starts to come off. If it does, you stop. Okay. This guy here. Same thing with this guy. This is the strangest volume knob or volume indicator I've ever seen. But there you go. Okay, both of these guys I'll put away and I'll clean them later. They're in really nice shape. They're not warped or anything. They're in really good shape. That's how we're going to keep them. Chances are good this tuning condenser, yeah, it's mounted on some grommets just like they always are. And actually, there's only one grommet. It's on the back. The only grommet really on this tuning condenser, okay? It just supports the back side of it, because if you look at the front side of it, it is supported with this guy right here. And I'm not sure if that looks almost like phenolic, man. So this supports this here, and then this should lift right off of there. All I have to do is disconnect this thing, and I should be able to get this off real easily. Okay, and I like it when they're connected with grid cap, wires with grid caps, because that's one more connection underneath I don't have to worry about. This will come off easily. I'll just, I'll probably snip these, and then I'll just, restrip them, because that'll clean up that mess anyway. So these two yellow wires right here are these go to the right hand light fixture. Always, always mark wires you remove, because you will forget. And if you videotape yourself marking them, that makes it even nicer, because that's a perfect reminder. Okay, that's out of the way. So let's look at where the electrical connections are to this guy that I can get to. You look right here. There's one right there, pretty easy to get to, because when I lift this off, that wire is going to be able to swing out with it. This looks like the oscillator coil. Okay, now I'm going to disconnect the wire, right this wire right here from the oscillator coil. So I'll do the usual method. I like to use, I'm a big fan of desoldering braid, so that's what we'll use. Been a few days since I lit up the old soldering iron, so kind of nice to be smelling that smell again. All right, let's give her a whirl, shall we? Now, sometimes this old solder does not like to come off easily, so this may not be the case with this guy. Tomorrow is Monday, and I took, because I've had a really hard weekend, a really busy weekend, I took tomorrow off, and I'm going to go pick up an old Philco, and then I'm also going to go to Rayelco. Sometimes it's easier just to cut them, but this one's short enough that I may not want to cut it, and I may not want to replace it. So I'll give myself the opportunity to choose later. There we go. Mark it with a little tape. Okay, let's hit the other side now. Got this guy here. Actually, what I need to do is disconnect this one off the antenna coil right here. That's a mess anyway, and that needs to be fixed up. So look at that awful mess. Alright, so let's see, I don't know what the heck was going on here, but it's awful. Looks like looks like there was originally shielding there, but I don't know. But there is a wire that connects to this guy right here. So let me get that. It's going to take a lot of desoldering braid to get that stuff out of there, but it needs to be done. I have no idea what that was about, guys. But my point is I want to get this wire off of here. You look at that oscillator coil right here, and you'll see I wrote a number right there on the phenolic next to the terminal that I removed that wire from, and I numbered that wire number 4. I will do the same thing on this antenna coil right here once I get the wire loose. There we go. Okay. And this one here should go off to pin number 6 of the 6F7, and it looks like it does. So let me number this. This is number 5. And put a number 5 right here. Okay, now, you know what? I don't know how the hell I'm going to get that through that hole. Oh well, I should have been thinking about that. I might tear it off there as I'm pulling it out, but that's the way it goes. So let me find number 6, pin number 6 of the 6F7. So it's a little tricky getting to it. Make sure I got the right wire. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and loosen up these screws that are holding this bugger down and see if we can't get her off of here. First, we'll go ahead and pull these right here. We'll just loosen them, and we'll see what moves when it's loose. Okay, just make sure we got it right. This should be really simple. Okay. And the reason I didn't mark it, it's a little tough to see, but there's these little retainers that are pressed into the metal here. You know, the bars stick out through the holes in this thing, and they pressed it and squished it down, so it kind of spread them out. Well, there it rests right on those. Okay, so that's pretty cool. That works out really well. All right, so I need to get the other side of this grommet right here. I need to get the other side of that loose so I can lift this off of here. So that's just going to be a 1/4 inch nut. And one of these screws fell out, so I'll set that aside. That's just going to be a 1/4 inch nut, so let me get my nut driver. So you come down here right next to the oscillator coil, and you can see the nut sticking up through the chassis. And it looks like this guy's already loose. So I'll go ahead and finish the job for it. I think this was meant to be an inexpensive radio because there's lots of little cost-cutting measures taken. Of course, the All-American 5 design, and also one grommet on the tuning condenser, and that's it. Let's get this other screw off of here. Now this should drop right down. I got some wires. There we go. Piece of cake, guys. Of course, I pulled that tape right off. All right, one tuning condenser. This is going to be labeled number 6, and it goes off to pin number 6 on the 6F7. So let me get that done before I do anything else. Tuning condenser looks good. It has like a vernier drive on it. But I don't think it's meant to have a knob on this other one here, because the hole in the radio is not big enough for a knob to fit down in there. So I think it's meant to just turn slow like that. I'll have to clean that out and make that work right. This bushing is where the dial mounts, and then this kind of works like a Philco one where there's ball bearings in here. And this thing kind of acts like a gear reducer. Trouble is it's slipping for some reason, so I don't know if I need to, I think I probably just need to get in there and clean it up and stuff, but I hope it's not worn, because that could be a real problem. And if that's the case, then what I would do, if I can't get it to work, the only thing I would have to do is put some kind of an adhesive in there to not something that's real permanent, but something that would enable this to grab onto this shaft here and just turn it like that. I'd rather it work properly, but if the balls are real worn, they're not going to have enough pressure against the inside of this bushing here to do the job. So we'll just have to see what happens once I clean it up. It shouldn't be too hard. And of course, when I lubricate all this and clean this up too, it might turn a lot better. But it feels pretty loosey-goosey. That's not a good feeling. We'll see. On each one of the tuning condenser mounting points in the front, there is a screw and a star washer, okay? What I'm going to do, you should do this kind of stuff too, is go ahead and put my screws back in the tuning condenser so that I don't have to worry about where the heck they go. Here's the top half of the grommet, went up there. These were one piece. This is the bottom half, went like that. And I didn't see a washer, which is interesting. There ought to be a washer there, so I'll put a washer on when I put it back together. And then you had a little 1/4 inch screw, or a little 1/4 inch nut that went on there. So I'll clean this up and I'll make it work right. That's for another day. Right now, I want to get stuff off of this thing. I'm probably going to empty out this condenser, and I'll tell you why. But you see that nastiness there? There's only one place all this sticky goo could have come from, and that's the inside of this thing. So I'm going to have to at least get this off there, empty it out, and I'll probably put some caps in there because there's no room under here for terminal strips and all that nonsense. I'm going to have to put caps in this thing, and that's just going to be the way it is. And the same thing here. This will come out and I'll have room for a terminal strip, or I'll gut this thing. It depends. Usually you can't do that without tearing these up. So I'll pull this out. I'll put a terminal strip there and I'll put some capacitors there, whatever these are supposed to be. Looks like this is a 20 and a 4 at 150, an 8 at 150, and a 4 at 25. Let's see. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is, remember, I'm removing fragile things and things that'll drive me nuts while I work on it. And something that'll drive me nuts when I work on it is this long antenna wire just bouncing around while I'm trying to get stuff done. And it goes up through a hole in the chassis, right up here. It goes up through a rivet hole, okay, in this 78 tube. It goes on the front rivet hole and just comes through here, goes through this goofiness here with the shield, this little section of shielding. I don't know why that's set up that way. And then is attached right here to the antenna coil. Okay, what I'm going to do is, since this is nice and long, there's no reason not to just go ahead and, it's not going to hurt to clip an inch or two off of there. Clip that off, I can leave it, I don't have to worry about it too much. All right, I know where it goes. And pull this thing out of here before it makes me crazy. Well, okay, guys, you can tell it's late and I'm getting grumpy. When I start talking about things making me crazy, I'm kind of getting grumpy. So I think it's time to wrap it up for this one, and we'll pick it up next time. As always, I'm going to forego showing all the details of the kind of work you're seeing right here because that gets really dull. And most of us know how to do that stuff. And if we don't, we can go find it on lots of YouTube videos out there on it. And instead, I'll spend the YouTube time working on some stuff that we don't see every day. For today, we'll close it down. And from your Western Outpost in Salt Lake City, this is Michael. And that's all for now. Oh yeah, I promise for you guys that are looking, I've got some cool video clips of Buster and Freddy that I'll put in the next one. All right, guys, that's all for now.